Alrighty, Madam Chair, you are live. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sierra. Good morning to the Board of Commissioners and to the citizens of Douglas County. Welcome to our Monday, May 2nd, 2022 virtual work session this morning. Certainly want to encourage you to join our legislative voting session tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, which will be May 3rd, 2022. Board of Commissioners, I hope you all had a great weekend, and certainly our ACCG conference was very enriching, and you had an opportunity to learn more about how to serve our citizens. Board of Commissioners, I will start with roll call. District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III. Okay. Vice Chairman and District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Present.
District 3 Commissioner Tarenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Ann Jones-Gatter.
Present.
Ramona Jackson-Jones, present. Board of Commissioners, we do have an established quorum this morning. We're going to move right into public comment. Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comment this morning?
Good morning, Chairman. Yes, we had Ms. Sharon Bachtel sign in. And before I call on Ms. Bachtel, I would just remind the citizens, you will have 3 minutes to address the board. Once you reach your 3 minutes, I will let you know to wrap up your comments. And if you could just restate your name and your subject matter. So Ms. Bachtel, are you on the line? I do not hear her, Chairman, so I will.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now, Ms.
Hello?
Bachtel. Yes, can you hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, you can go ahead and start.
This is okay, this is Sharon Bachtel, 6331 South Skyline Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here to talk about the salaries and the coroner again, because by your comments, I don't think you get it. You seemed more concerned about moving the firefighters and paramedic salaries up to $15 an hour than paying them according to their worth. In your study, the citizens have said to prioritize public safety. What is the use of new equipment, new emergency vehicles, and new firehouses if you don't have first responders to use them? Firefighters should be paid more than summer camp counselors or animal technicians. Firefighters should be paid more than the commissioner's summer interns who are getting $15 an hour too. First responders should be paid more than the commissioner's aides making $25 an hour who answer emails and phones. Office aides make no major decisions. They do not risk their lives to save mine. It is time to quit putting the commissioner's wants over the needs of the citizens. It is time for you to put public safety first and raise the first responder salaries. As to the coroner, I was really disappointed to hear Chairwoman Jones say that she would hire 10,000 deputy coroners to take care of the citizens. Is that the progressive way? You seem to think that if you spend a lot of our tax dollars on new offices, lots of deputies, and new fancy vehicles, you will make the coroner's office better. One of the hardest things for a person to endure is watching their loved one who died unexpectedly rolled out the front door. A coroner's job is not just pronouncing death and investigating. A coroner must also give comfort to family members during this traumatic time. A coroner should be there for the citizens in their time of need. When someone dies in the hospital, does the doctor send the nurse in to pronounce death? Does the doctor send the nurse out to inform and comfort the family members? The people who unexpectedly die at home should be given the same respect as given to people who die in a hospital. When you give the coroner an extra big budget, you enable her to not do her job, the job that she was elected and the law requires her to do. She hires other people to do it for her. She has no respect or care for the citizens of this county, or she would be there for them in their time of need. Until the coroner starts doing 90% of the investigations instead of 10%, and until the coroner starts putting the citizens first, I will take every opportunity to speak before this board about the coroner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Batchel. And certainly your remarks are duly noted. Certainly let me respond to one of your disappointments regarding my statement about 10,000. And I hold firm to that. Basically what I was indicating was I want someone at the doors, our citizens' doors, expeditiously when that time and moment come. What you failed to capture was, I said, from sunrise to sunset, I will make sure that the citizens of Douglas County are taken care of. So I want someone at the doorstep, regardless of how many deputy coordinators we have. My expectations will be that we will respond accordingly, and my healthcare background supports that. Certainly, Clerk, do you have anybody else on this line that need to speak this morning?
Chairman, I did not have anyone else sign in, but I would reach out to anyone else on the line that would like to speak this morning. Chairman being none, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And again, Ms. Batch would love to speak with you offline. The salaries, according to our firefighters' schedule that we have, and certainly the chief made it very clear to you in our last meeting that their salaries are competitive, certainly with the nation and also with the state of Georgia. And would love to speak to you offline to determine what your thoughts are, and then we can go from there. We're going to move on board. With that being said, let's move on to the next item. We have two presentations this morning. We have, first of all, I would like to just kind of sequence a little bit, Lisa. I'm going to move Mr. Ray Lightford up first so he can provide a comprehensive report to our board.
Madam Chair, concur with
Yes.
change.
Thank you. All right. Are you ready, Mr. Lightford? Board of Commissioners, our Chief Operating Officer of the Community Service Board will be bringing, and I've requested that he discuss this matter with us, and it's just to give us an update on the behavioral health of and the COVID impact of Douglas County. Certainly it's been a 24-month period, and certainly I know you all are concerned about that behavioral health component. Are you ready, Mr. Lightford?
I am.
Okay, you have the floor.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Can you all see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
So you should have in your Dropbox a complete composite report that we presented last week. It's about 30 pages. This is a small summary that we put together. Over the last 2 years, CSB, along with our community partners, have been gathering data to kind of let us know the overall health of Douglas County, what's going on, trends, so on and so forth. And so I'll kind of roll through it. It starts off initially with us just discussing a few facts and things that we may not know about in the community. This is a list of the community partners that all chipped in to help bring this document to life. So the first slide you see here is from the Division of Family and Children's Services. So this is a breakdown of families that we have that are on either food stamps, Medicaid families, and also the Child Protective Services cases. So you'll see right now that on average, about 33 million was spent in food stamps here within Douglas County. We also had about a little over 10,000 families that were on Medicaid. And then finally, we had a total case count for Children Protective Services of 1,864. This was all from 2020. The 2021 statistics have not been posted yet. We anticipate that coming up end of June, 1st of July. This next slide is from the Department of Community Supervision. And so what we're looking at right now is an analysis between 2021 and 2022 of individuals that are under community supervision that have been released back into the community. And so you'll see a little bit drops in numbers, which is a good sign. So sex offenders went from 211 to 206. Violent crime offenders also went from 1,160 to 1,167, and so on and so forth in each one of those categories. Now you will see that we did have a good decrease in drug offenses.
Recording in progress.
Okay, this next slide is presented from the Department public health. These are our overdose rates from 2020. We had a total of 25 citizens that overdosed from opioid usage, which gave us an overall county rate per 100,000 of 16.9, and the state average is 12.4. So this may be an area of concern that we have to keep looking at and to keep our eye on. Out of that suicide, we had 3 individuals between the age of 15 and 24 that committed suicide. We had 2 between the ages of 25 and 34, 4 between the ages of 35 and 44, 10 45 to 54 years old, and then 6 from 55 to 64. Next slide has been provided by the 911 call center. And so what they did is they broke down 2017 to 2019 versus 2020 to 2022 in calls. And so they had 570 calls in that first time frame between 2017 and 2019 for overdose. That jumped up to 734, which is a 29% variance over the last 2 years during the COVID epidemic. Suicide attempts, 774 calls to 809, which was 5% increase. And that last line was the availability of EMS personnel to respond immediately. And so that's the variation that you see there at the bottom. This next slide was provided by Project Infinity, who are advocates in the school system working with homeless children, providing educational aids based here in Douglas County. Currently, our total homeless student count is 724. And that also includes anyone who is living in an environment that is not fit for human habitation. So cars, parks, so on and so forth. As you look, you'll see the breakdown by race: 61 Hispanic, 5 American Indian, 541 African American or Black, 5 Pacific Islanders, 69 white or Caucasian, and then 43 multiracial. Now that you see is 375 female, 349 male. To go along with this, the statistics have been added by psychiatric disorders too, to show you the prominence of children who are impacted by homelessness and the types of diagnoses that they end up battling. So you see 53% have conduct disorder, 32% end up with ADHD, 21% with mood disorders, 21% with mania, 12% with PTSD, and then 10% with schizophrenia. So combating this, ParentsEducating Parents, Linda Shepard, has provided over 553 contacts within our school systems here, working for advocacy for children with disabilities and their families, working for mediation, transitions from school to employment services, as well as providing IEP development. And this was all within the last year. Our school graduation rates, as you can see, this is from 2019 to 2021. We are above the state graduation rate average, but what you will see is that you do see a small decrease from 2020 to 2021 in all of our schools. The largest decrease was the graduation rate at Lithia Springs High School. It went from 87% to 80%. Next slide is our outpatient behavioral health services growth. On average, in CSB services, roughly around 5,000 citizens a year. Over the last year, we jumped to 7,652 citizens, with 2,049 being specific to Douglas County. If you look to the far right of the screen, what you'll see is the breakdown by ages of those new individuals. You'll also see it by race, and then you'll also see it by county. Give me a second to get all that data. It's quite extensive. Over the past year, pharmacy services, we have spent $86,546 on medication for the indigent population. whether that be full paid prescriptions or subsidized prescriptions. We filled over 8,000 and we mailed over 500 prescriptions out for individuals who do not have transportation or means to be able to come in. The next slide is from the Neverland Clubhouse, which is our local RCO, Recovery Community Organization, which is peer-led and peer-driven. This organization has served 361 peers that are battling addiction and given over 3,389 contacts this past year. And this is a great program because it's actually people that have gone through recovery, helping others recover. The next slide is our intensive case management program, which is case management services directly supporting chronic incarceration. Individuals have had multiple substance abuse treatment fails and chronic homelessness. What you'll see here is that right now we have 179 individuals that fall in this category that we're servicing. The majority ranging between the ages of 30 and 64, followed by the age range between 18 and 29. 50% of our participants in this program are female. And what you'll see on the far right is a breakdown by city, who these people are. And as you'll see, 133 of these individuals are living in Douglasville, 12 Lithia Springs, 9 Winston, and 2 in Villa-Rica. Next service is our employment services. We did see a large uptick in individuals that suffer from mental health or substance abuse disorder, losing jobs. Currently, right now, we have 81 citizens enrolled, with 60% of those individuals working. Our adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Right now, we have a daily active participant count of 48. And year to date, we've given out 72,500 hours of services to these individuals. This focuses on self-independence learning, nursing services, as well as employment services for these individuals as well. Housing. Currently, right now, we have 162 individuals that we are either providing rental assistance or placement for, who have a mental health or substance use disorder. We have 4 individuals that we provide housing for with a developmental disability in a host home setting. And right now we currently have 12 in our program that are housed that were formerly, that are veterans, excuse me. Total of 178 citizens being served. In summary, currently Douglas County in the state of Georgia ranks 21st in health outcomes and 29th in overall health factors out of 159 counties, which is excellent. These factors include healthy living, smoking, diabetes, access to health care. It's a very large composite that brings us together. And so we're doing pretty well in the spectrum of counties in this community. Barring any questions, this concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Chief Operating Officer Lightfoot. Board Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Lightfoot this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to all.
Mm-hmm.
Director or Chief Operating Officer, I don't know which one it is. Lightfoot, the guy across the CSP. No, but seriously, great information just for all directors and for all officers and offices and agencies. And this is some good data. Very rich. And stay there. Y'all want a model? That right there. It's rich. It's nothing there to help affect policy, help us make some good choices on behalf of the greater good. But this is an important model. That's just an object lesson. Bring data. That we can don't bring stories. Bring data. So thank you for that. Just want to acknowledge that, Madam Chair. Well done to the administration, you guys. That was some good data. So now the question becomes, Director Lightford, thank you for informing us. Is there an ask later in this agenda? Is that where we're going to go? Because I can wait till then. Was this just background for a later conversation of an immediate ask, or?
Commissioner, thank you. So it's background information. When we came aboard and we started receiving county contribution, we promised that we would support with data. And so what we've done is we've made a concerted effort to work with our community partners to get this data so that the citizens are informed. As we continue to grab data, it allows us to look at what's next, where we need to go. And if there is an opportunity for us to get additional funding to adjust or address some behavioral health gaps in the community, this is what we would use this data for.
So duly noted. I got what I need for right now. I'm going to yield the floor to my peers in case they have any questions. Thank you, Director Lightford. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. I'm sorry, I was talking to myself. I had my mic off. And I see your camera is on. Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Director Lightford, when you say cities, you had a couple of things listed there that was not, they're not cities. Did you just go by zip code?
Thank you, Mr. Guider. So we have, we listed by zip code, yes, and I'm sorry, yes, some are townships and
some of them just a rural route
right
by the post office. So
absolutely, but yes, we track by zip code. Part of our services is that we get the address data when a person comes in the services. We know exactly where the pinpoint and where this location is that these people are being served. That also allows us to be able to even look at school data based on what we're getting, to be able to tell if there's an issue, a systemic issue that may be taking place within a certain district or in a certain zip code, that we can also go back and look at and say, well, we need to put more services in this area. So absolutely, we track all zip codes.
Well, I was just confused because Winston is not a city and neither is Lithia Springs. So you're going by zip code, and that's a rule. I mean, that could be cover a big area, not just a little community like Douglasville. So I was just concerned, how'd you assign them to a city that was not a city?
I totally understand. Yes,
you need to change your header to my zip code or something.
Absolutely, and I actually do. I have that data that I can't send pinpoint it just by zip code without the name in there as well.
Okay. Well, I just, I didn't know if you knew that Winston was not a city and Lithia Springs is not a city. It's unincorporated. So, all right. It's just a zip code. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Any other comments forward? Okay, and thank you so much, Ray, for coming in today and presenting this information to the Board of Commissioners. Certainly, the Board of Commissioners, as I mentioned in the state of the county, that the citizens of Douglas County will be receiving a comprehensive report by year end, and it'll be related to the healthcare factors. And some of my information as I'm working alongside the CSB staff will, that information that they have regarding mental health will be involved, and also health and nutrition and all those things to help keep our citizens healthy and safe as we continue to move forward through this pandemic. All right, thank you so much again, Chief Operating Officer, Director Lightford, for coming in today. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Board of Commissioners, we have one more presentation, and it is the ARC commute options, Atlanta Regional Commission commute options, certainly that may be interesting to you, and I thought that is something that you all would like to hear this morning. And I have Danielle Crow, who's here, Board of Commissioners, who will be presenting this morning about the commute options. And also I see Bennett Foster, you're here as well. Hello, and both are from ARC. All right, you have the floor, Ms. Crow.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity to come before the board. Today, I'm here on behalf of ARC's Georgia Commute Options, along with Bennett Foster. the manager of outreach and employer services at ARC's Georgia Commute. When my firm began working with Bennett and his team to support this initiative, immediately Douglas County was top of mind as a potential partner. The county has a well-established record for improving mobility and regional connectivity through the management of the second largest van pool in the state for decades, for the successful launch of the Connect Douglas Fixed Route bus system, the most recent in our region, and the paratransit system that ensures that the county's seniors and people with physical disabilities remain connected. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners have long since been champions of mobility. So today we're here simply to enhance that. In a moment, Bennett will present Georgia Commute Options programming and resources that will complement what the county already has in place and is available to you at no cost. So given the rising gas prices, upcoming infrastructure improvements like Lee Road, Georgia Commute Options offers immediate value to Douglas County employees, residents, and businesses with no financial investment. So with that, Bennett, I'll defer to you.
Thanks, Danielle. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chair Jackson-Jones, for your continued collaboration. Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to speak with you this morning. Douglas County is experiencing smart growth. New residents, new developments, growing families, and expanding businesses, all of which increase the demand on a strained transportation network and increase the challenges for mobility and connectivity. Next slide, please. So we at ARC understand those challenges, and we support your continued growth with various resources like the recent grant for the Douglas County Comprehensive Transportation Plan. GCO, Georgia Commute Options. This is another valuable resource managed by ARC and funded by GDOT. And we are your dedicated partner for transportation demand management, also known as TDM. So what is TDM? Now, if we were in person, I'd ask and wait for a response, but I'm just going to give you the answer right now. So these are strategies designed to increase the efficiency of existing transportation infrastructure and resources by reducing the demand for car trips, particularly people driving alone. And now this leads to improved mobility, reduced congestion, and lower vehicle emissions. Oh, sorry, I was gonna try to skip to the next slide. Okay, one more slide. Let's read that out. All right, thank you. So, as you know, small changes can result in big benefits, many of which directly align with your goals as government leaders, like connecting people to employment and activity centers. TDM improves public health and safety by lowering emissions and improving air quality. It spurs economic development by unlocking the traffic gridlock that can keep customers and employees from businesses and makes your location more attractive for development. TDM reduces the burden on transportation infrastructure and thereby reduces the frequency and cost for maintenance. With increased mobility and connectivity, TDM helps to improve overall quality of life. I think everyone in the region can agree a day with less traffic is a better day, right? Next slide, please. Now, to help you achieve these benefits, GCO has a host of programs and services available at no cost to you, as Danielle mentioned. Our TDM toolkit includes services, infrastructure, subsidies, education, and parking management. And we'll work with you to determine the best solutions for your city and customize an implementation plan. Components range from ride-sharing apps to microtransit strategies that can provide the crucial last-mile connectivity to businesses. We also provide telework consulting and help many cities develop and implement a policy to provide business continuity during COVID-19. We understand that as government leaders providing crucial services, you didn't have time to reset. You developed solutions, and we want to provide resources to support those with resident and employee education and discount transpass programs. Many agencies are working in a hybrid model with staggered schedules. Many of them are having virtual meetings just like this one right now. And our flex work plans can support all of these efforts. Next slide, please. So we've established successful partnerships with cities and counties throughout the region, and we'd like to do the same with each of them. We've partnered with Clayton County, Cobb County, Atlanta, Sandy Springs, and many more throughout the region, including Henry and Fulton. GCOs provided regional TDM coordination and construction mitigation around large infrastructure projects like Transform I-285 at 200, and we could do the same for the Lee Road widening project. Cash incentives for computers, school system trip reduction program, and project research and analysis are all available to your city. Next slide, please. Now, the commissioner mentioned bring the data, and so that's something that we can offer. We can bring the data. We can work with Director Lightfoot as well. So I just want to show here, this is just part of our forthcoming annual report for 2021. You'll see the gas prices, though, do not reflect what we're seeing today. But what we do is we chart DMT, travel time index, ridership, population growth, and we work with employers, commuters, and schools across the Metro Atlanta region to use this data to reduce the number of single occupant vehicles on our roads. And this helps us inform our outreach, our programming, communication, and I'd love to speak with each of you about how we can use this data to support your cities. Next slide, please. Another big effort that we undertook in the first 2 years of the pandemic, GCO conducted surveys to track how commuters' travel behavior, preferences, and attitudes changed during the shelter-in-place order and the ongoing pandemic. As you can see, the survey highlights how travel changed during the pandemic, the forecast what travel might look like after the pandemic, and provides guidance for how GCO and the TMAs, those are our partners in the large employment centers, can take a proactive approach to adapting to shifting commuter needs. I think as we're all experiencing. Next slide, please. So here's the next steps. You can begin accessing our resources in 3 easy steps. First one, activate an employer partnership for your county or city. After my presentation, our team will reach out to you to schedule a 30-minute session to activate your partnership. Thereafter, we'll collaborate with you to determine an implementation plan. Number 2, share the information with your constituents and businesses. For GCO programs, Douglas County residents who select the Clean Commute can earn up to $150 and win rewards. Businesses can utilize tools to help recruit and retain employees, and our team, supported by Aligned Strategies, will provide a toolkit and any needed support to help you share this information with your residents, businesses, and community organizations. Lastly, you can help by integrating TDM into long-range planning. Next slide, please. And so I just want to leave you with, this is a slide of our GCO app where commuters can log on and log their trips and earn their rewards. So once we've assessed the needs of your organization, we like to get your staff started by directing them to our website or the GCO app as you see here. You get them signed up. The system will ask them some basic information about their commute behavior and their weekly schedule. And after the account's set up, the system will begin to tally reward points for each day of clean commuting. And employees will also have access to see a variety of information about how much money they've saved and CO2 emissions they've reduced from the environment. And we're also able to identify carpool partners with their accounts. And so that's the end of my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm eager to start working with each and every one of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Foster. Appreciate you coming in today along with Danielle Crow, Ms. Crow, to provide this information to the board. I appreciate the presentation from you, Mrs. Crow, several weeks ago, and certainly was excited to bring this information to the board so they could just hear what type of options are out there regarding commuting. Certainly, what sparked my interest was the environmental impact to reduce the possibilities of future health related conditions related to emissions and fossil fuel, gas, all those things that cause a problem. And then also, you all said it was free of charge. That certainly perked up my ears. My question to you would be, you said you would work directly. How are you working with other counties? You mentioned Cobb. What has been your avenue for making sure that the citizens are aware of this information, or what have you done in the past? And this comes at a time, certainly, perfect timing. We have a new transit director, Ron Roberts. So this is something I know his ears probably perked up this morning. So can you tell me how you work with other counties to make sure this system is in it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, sorry, I just want to make sure I was off mute. Yeah, so with Cobb County in particular, we helped welcome the Atlanta Braves to town, facilitating some of the TDM outreach that had to happen, especially with battery employees. We also helped encourage Cumberland employees to try clean commutes during game days to reduce traffic around the stadium. With the city of Powder Springs, they were recently awarded a Changemaker Award for a telework and flexwork program, which we helped them set up and sustain through the pandemic. I think it's going pretty well. I actually have a webinar that I can share with you afterwards, so you can hear from the manager, the city manager of Powder Springs, to talk about the work we did together. And so it really is like I showed that slide with our toolkit. It really is. There's no one size fits all, and so that's why we'd have our assessment and talk to you about the challenges and barriers that you're having, and seeing what makes the most sense for an implementation. Because the goal isn't to try to get 100% of people to take a clean commute. As amazing as that would be, right? It's to get a fraction of those folks to try a clean commute and to stick with it. And we just know like if you can get 5% shift on a roadway, you can get a 20% increase in traffic speeds. So I hope that helped answer your question.
That did. You did a great job of responding.
And if I may, Madam Chair, I'll add to that. Based on working with you all in the past, as Bennett said, these are some of the examples that we have had much success with partnering with other counties and cities. But some of the immediate value I see to roll out to the residents and businesses of Douglas County is one, first and foremost, with rising gas costs, residents can earn up to $150 just for trying this program. So it's an immediate help to people to help them offset those high gas prices. You all are already set up for success with the Connect Douglas Fixed Route Bus System. So this has also incentivized people who have not yet tried the transit system to then try the system that you all already have in place. Another thing that I see, another opportunity that's just low-lying fruit for Douglas County, is to work with the phenomenal communications department that you all have, is to roll out this information with partnering with Rick. And secondly, I think about the initiatives that you all have for your small businesses. Just as Bennett said, so many people were hit hard during the pandemic. And so many of our small businesses did not have a telework policy in place. They did not have all of this information of how can we still sustain our business and keep moving forward. GCO has specific programming for small businesses and can provide that direct support. So those things, as well as partnering with Elevate Douglas to work with larger employers to roll this out as well, are things that I see that we can implement quickly to benefit both residents, employees of the county, and businesses.
Thank you so much, Ms. Crowe. Certainly our committee chair for the BOC is for the transportation is Vice Chairman Robinson, and just I see he has his hand on his chin. Just kind of see what your thoughts are. What do you think about it? Or you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was sitting, Madam Chair. Yeah, thank you both for being here. And I was involved in the conversation to bring you guys out when I heard you over in Cobb. To Ms. Crow's point, to make us richer in our thinking. I was like, Madam Chair, we need to get them out here. And it's now we're advancing from a planning perspective. We're maturing, right? And there are resources that are available. We just have to open our eyes and embrace them and recognize what they bring to our community. And I didn't have to be sold on the fact that it was for free, and it wasn't the point. It had value. But thank you that it is free. That being said, data is something that's important. I'm sure there's a bunch that we can probably go and get access to, meaning the board, regarding Douglas County, where we are, because it's always about what our current state, but where are we? Tell me the truth. Make sure your data is solid. Don't cook the data. You know, that's an issue. Sometimes we have, can we trust the data? How stable is it? How often do you update it? But beyond that, my last point in stating this is, yes, we are 3 years in our pilot program regarding our fixed route. And there's always this conversation about even providing mobility to the citizens. And I tend to enjoy listening to the narrative, but it's still important for citizens to be mobile, right? And I speak from a place of just, I'm legally blind. I will continue to drive home this point all the time about the need to move, not to be sheltered in place. Now I have options, but understand its impact and it's collective. And so to Mrs. Crow's point, education is going to be key here. Think about my seniors who ain't really online with these QRG codes and all that. That's cute, but hopefully you got some old school to get out there and reach some of these people that really need this, like our seniors. We just recently went through that. Like, so I'm listening to you like, okay, now how am I translate this to these seniors? Right? In other words, like it's going to be easier for you to go to them than to try to learn how to appreciate what you bring. But don't get me wrong, I'm not marginalizing it. Finally, my fourth point is as we go into this third year of our transit, we do believe that there's a need to come up with a formal plan for 2.0. And so hopefully it sounds like you guys, we can engage you regarding that. The board has already appropriated money in this past year's budget or this year's budget. But Madam Chair, I guess my point is I'm just framing a conversation. I know this is no action, but I believe that they can be a partner here. And I guess they've got to go and poll the board and talk to an individual like they said they were going to do and bring something back for us formally to move forward for. I know Ron Roberts, congratulations, Ron, to be a new transit director. We look forward to seeing what you can do with this opportunity. So I just wanted to make some comments, guys. Thank you for being here. Letting us know that you're there. There is a better way. And there's nothing, last point, there's nothing worse than not being on time. That fixed route is important. When I get out there at 9:10, the bus has to be there. That dollar ride, it hits the misses. I need stability. That fixed route is very important. So we need to drive home the importance of it. That, okay, when we got to get somewhere, it's always there. That van pool is always leaving on time. That dollar ride, maybe they'll show up, maybe they won't. They cancel, they blow you off. It's not consistent, guys. I live it. And I don't think that you would want to put the workforce so much emphasis in that type of model. So that was just a side comment, Madam Chair. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Oh, can I please, Chairman Robinson, I just want you to know I hear you loud and clear, and the Mobility Services Group here at ARC hears you as well, because prior to the pandemic, we did work with our colleagues in transportation here on a human services transportation grant. We did get that grant, and that is something that we are rolling into our regional TDM plan to make sure that what you talked about specifically about folks with disabilities or individuals with lower incomes or older adults, right? To make sure that they have access to these transportation services and that their needs are met, right? And so this is something that's not, it's something that is on our radar in a big way, and it's coming in our regional TDM plan.
Thank you for responding to that. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair. I see you, Cameron, Commissioner Vetter. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. And Danielle, I saw you the other day at the chamber, and I look forward to working with you. Yeah, we've always had good experience with you. It's my understanding that y'all will be reaching out to each one of us, each one of the commissioners, because this has been a lot thrown at us in a short period of time. We haven't had any thought process or will y'all be doing that? Because I would love to sit down and talk with you, Mr. Foster, and Danielle. But I do disagree with Commissioner Robinson about the dollar ride, because the current fixed route that we have only serves about a fourth of the county. So there's a lot of seniors out there in the other part of the county that's not being served. So that's the area that I would like to concentrate on is because the dollar ride works great over in Carroll County. I don't know about other areas, but I do know it's working fine over there. But Three Rivers, I think, administers that one. They're not in the ARC. They're in Three Rivers Commission. So anyway, I look forward to putting my 2 cents in, because I represent a rural area that is not being served at all. And we have seniors in the rural areas. I think sometimes people forget that there are seniors all over the county, and not just in 2 districts that is now being served by this fixed route. So I look forward to talking to y'all and understanding exactly what you do, because right now our van pool is not operating. There are lots of vans sitting there, and we need to get them cranked up and moving, because that was a very popular aspect to our transportation. So I just want to make sure that I have the opportunity to talk with y'all, because I represent a lot of rural area. All right. Thank you very much. I yield back, Madam.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Guy. In response to your question, absolutely, each board member will have an opportunity. Today was just an overview. It was exciting information. Thank you for Vice Chair for spearheading the conversation. And certainly when Mrs. Crow approached me, I said, this is something that I would love to hear, to just let us mull over in a certainly a board meeting, a work session. And so this is just food for thought today, and then you will get an individual meeting. You will hear from Mrs. Crow and Mr. Foster very soon. But this is some promising information that could bode well for our county in the future. So that's just food for thought today. So just something for you all to chew on. So Commissioner Guy, you will hear from the team very soon. Any other questions, board? All right, but thank you for coming in for the presentation today, Mrs. Crow and Mr. Foster at ARC, and it is my honor to work directly with y'all at ARC. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Board of Commissioners, certainly tomorrow will be, if you would just be prepared to approve the minutes accordingly. We have the commission meeting minutes of April 19th on that will come before you tomorrow, and also the work session meeting minutes of April 18th. Board of Commissioners, we have 2 proclamations tomorrow. Proclaiming one, which is tab number 3, proclaiming the month of May 2022 as Older Americans Month in Douglas County, which would be great. And Dr. Gilchrist will bring that proclamation before us. And tab number 4 will be for the proclamation proclaiming the month of May 2022 as National Drug Court Month in Douglas County. And Tim Pruitt and Joshua Best and Jennifer King will bring that information to us as well, the proclamation. We will read it and we will approve accordingly. Board of Commissioners, we're going to move to tab number 5. We have approval of a resolution adopting the Language Access Plan, which is considered an acronym status, LAP, in accordance with the FY 2021 CDBG Grant Award regulations, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Dr. Gilchrist, if you could just brief the board and let them know what this resolution is all about.
Yes. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. As a recipient of the federal CDBG funds, it's our responsibility to ensure compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. And as such, the LAP, or the Language Access Plans, outline our plan to take reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access to our programs and activities by persons with limited English proficiency. And part of the CDBG requirements is for the board to adopt it as a resolution adopting that plan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gilchrist. Any questions for as to what is coming before you tomorrow? Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Gilchrist. We're going to move on. Certainly, At this time, certainly I will ask if there's any Deputy County Administrator business. You have anything for us today, Deputy County Administrator Perry?
I do not, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on board to tab number 6, authorization to approve the FY 2022 amendment to Aging Services Contract AG 2208 in the amount of $548,700.63 with the Atlanta Regional Commission, and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. And there is a 10% required match. Dr. Gilchrist, you have the floor again.
Yes. Good morning again. This is basically an amendment to our original contract that we received for FY 2022. The contract started in July 1 of 2021. Our ARC, their fiscal year is from July 1 to June 30th. And so this particular contract will end June 30th. However, there was an amendment, a decrease of $35,222.98 due to we were awarded respite care funds, and we did not have the staff to provide respite care, in-home respite care, and also Title III caregiver family support. There was a decrease in that funding. It's very specific funding, and clients must have a caregiver living with them. We were able to serve those particular clients in the community through another fund source via our ARC contract.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gilchrist. Any questions forward? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gilchrist. We'll move on to the next item, which is authorization to award a contract to Allen Smith Consulting, Inc. for the grant authorization services for the FY 2021 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, for the senior services in the amount, and senior services located on Fairburn Road, Board of Commissioners, in the amount not to exceed $45,000 to be funded from the CDBG funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Dr. Gilchrist, you have the floor again.
Yes, good morning. We are ready to move forward with the construction phase of the Fairburn Road Senior Center. In order to do that, we had to bring on a grant administrator, and they will be compensated through the CDBG funding.
Okay. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, you have any questions regarding this? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, as it relates to federal or state grant administration, somebody overseeing this project, managing it, program managing it, whatever managing it, is key. So I'm hearing we're going to spend $45,000 on this CDBG grant for but for seniors. And so to my procurement officer, as well as Dr. Gilchrist, and Madam Chair and the administration, right? So where is the program manager for everything? And again, this is my point. So see the requirement that actually makes you do. It's a requirement. It says you must have oversight. That's just for one grant. What about everything else? Now we're gonna have an aggregate view of our data. So again, I'm gonna keep driving home these points. And I love the First Amendment. Everybody get to weigh in and make their point. This is important here, so that we don't fail in execution. I'm going to drive home the point that these federal grants have to be overseen. You have to have compliance from reporting. They give a lot of money to the system, guys. A lot of cash. Sky's not falling. Congress know what they did. They did everything. They ensured that society in America just, look, bang, one time, all in. Not the Great Recession. We just built our banks. Everybody got flushed. So they're looking for us like, okay, guys, I know what we did right. Now we at the local have to make sure that we do what our part was to make them look good by like, let's get this right now. Right? That exposed us. That's a lot of debt. $1 trillion worth of debt. Right, so we have to work and honor what they put in play, guys. And I'm trying to not overemphasize the need for us to get an overall program administrator in here on these contracts. Again, here we are, May and it's something I've been asking for a minute, trying to drop on the point that you guys need to put this in play. And it's not for me; it's for the greater good. But I look forward to. I have no opposition to this matter before us. I just had to drop home the bigger point that y'all got to get on this. We talked about the experiences that we've had in times past. It's great, but unless we take action, we're going to experience them again. So anyway, I just want to make sure we have some corrective, some preventative things in place to ensure that we don't, come off, our wheels don't come off. That's all I want to make that point, Madam Chair. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. And I know our purchasing procurement director is listening. And are you on the line, procurement director? I know you have an update, and I'm so sorry. I haven't seen Commissioner Carthen. Your camera came on. Both of y'all's cameras are on. So before I ask you to speak, Director Amos, certainly I want to yield to the commissioners. Commissioner Carthen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two things for Dr. Gilchrist. Dr. Gilchrist, if we could go back to the senior services, the new grant contract that we were awarded for $548,000, that requires a 10% match. Is that coming from your budget, or where are we getting it from? I'm assuming it's about 54,000 is what we need, 55 to round it up.
Yes, ma'am. Essentially, that comes from our budget with the products that we buy, the food and those things, and the staff. So that's how we.
Got you. And I heard your comment about you have been supplementing some of the services with ARC grant funds. Can you talk about just a little bit? Can you talk about how the budgeting for your department, seeing as though you have the new senior service center, you have what you do out in the fields with Meals on Wheels, you have what you do for those seniors who are homebound. Can you talk a little bit about how you spread those dollars across those sectors?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So for the senior activity centers, all of our funds come from the county, through the county. So all of the services for our programming, for utilities, all of those things is completely funded by the county 100%. For the services that we provide from the Fairville Road location, which includes non-emergency transportation, Meals on Wheels, congregate meals, a large majority of that is funded through our contract with the ARC. So currently, for fiscal year 2022, we received $548,700. And so that helped us supplement the funds that we received from the county to provide those services.
Thank you. So this CDBG grant is absolutely necessary because what you just described did not include any of the maintenance or things that are needed for the buildings that house these programs and these activities, correct?
That is correct.
Because we don't have a capital fund for just senior services, do we?
No, ma'am, we do not.
So it is vital that we have to apply for these things, and I'm so glad that we were awarded this. This is long overdue. I know we tried last year and we weren't successful. This year we were, so I commend you and the staff for getting and trying again. And I really do look forward to this. So I just say this to say to my peers, it's important that we look across all sectors of our government. We have a vibrant senior population, and for those individuals who can get transportation, whether through the county, whether through Dial-A-Ride, whether through the transportation vehicles that the county provides through senior services to pick them up, we have to make sure that we're just not building the buildings, but we're maintaining them. And so this is an important part of how we need to budget and appropriate moving forward. Not just for a sheriff, we love the sheriff, not just for the fire department. You know, I love my Chief Joe Levette. But we have to do it across all segments so that all of our citizens can get a chance to experience their tax dollars. And this is an important department, one which you all know is near and dear to my heart. So please, as we're moving forward, and I know in a few months, about 3 months, we will be moving into our mid-year budget retreat. So it's something that we do need to take a look at and get with Dr. Gilchrist and really hone in on some of the things that she sees moving forward as to where we need to start looking to appropriate dollars. And thank you, Dr. Gilchrist, for working to make sure that we did have a grants administrator and overseer for this project. I concur with Commissioner Robinson. We really need a team in the county because we could get a lot more grant dollars to stretch across all these departments, but it really takes a team effort. And we just don't have that in-house, or we have very few people in-house that could do that. So with that, Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner McCarthy. Very well said. Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Just for the citizens, could we go over exactly what's going to be done to the Fairburn Road Senior Facility?
Yes.
Is it going to be torn down, rebuilt, or just renovated on the inside? What's going to happen to it?
Okay.
Yes,
Dr. Gilchrist, could you provide an overview of what's being planned for that building?
yes. As we know, the current building is over 100 years old, and so what will happen? The first thing will happen is the building will be made ADA compliant. We're also going to do a rehab on the inside of the building. It will not be
Everybody, just please mute your mics. Everybody, everyone, please. You have the floor.
Commissioner Guider, it will not be completely torn down. That we do not have the funding for that, but what will happen is we will bring it up to the 21st century, and basically the windows, the inside, some of the plumbing we know, and then again we just don't know what they will find once they start tearing down walls. But our hope is to just do a complete renovation of the building, so kind of gut it out and then start over, and that will be just the side of the building where we provide the services for our congregate program and our Meals on Wheels program, not the administrative side.
Director Gilchrist, have you got the roof problem fixed?
We did repair the portion of the roof that was leaking, and part of the construction will also re-examine the roof for that building. Yes, ma'am.
And was there any mold problems due to the roof leak?
No, ma'am. We did not have any mold problems that were visible.
Okay. Because I was always concerned anytime you have water, you can have mold. So, so you're just what are you going to do with the people that use this facility now? You're going to have to relocate them to another facility? The Meals on Wheels? What are you going to do with the people that use that facility now?
So essentially yes, ma'am. So we will utilize our Liquid Spring Senior Center and the Woody Fight Senior Center. We've also been in collaboration with some of the local churches to use their space, and we are moving toward a center without a senior center without walls. So we're finding very creative ways to serve our community out in the public. We're doing different events at some of the local parks, in the parking lots. We do have a team that's working toward putting together a comprehensive plan.
Okay, well, I know the front of that building has a lot of steps, and I know that isn't good for our senior center. So is there plans to remove those steps and have like a ramp or something?
No, ma'am, not for the front of the building. Essentially, at this time, the staff utilizes the front of the building. We usually greet our citizens either on the side of the building or in the back where we provide the congregate meal program.
And will this affect the where the extension office is, that building right behind? Is anything going to be done to it?
No, ma'am, that's not within the scope of work for this project.
All right. With that, I yield back. I just wanted the public to know what we were talking about. We're talking about a grant and this, that, and the other, but what are we going to do with that money? So I just wanted them to hear exactly what was in the works. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guido, for prompting attention to be to elaborate on what this would be used for. So thank you. That was a good question. Any other questions or comment forward? Right, if we don't have any further comments, we'll move on to our next tab. I believe you have the next tab as well, Dr. Gilchrist. The next one is authorization to approve a contract, which is tab number 8 board. Authorization to approve a contract with Jericho Design for engineering and architectural services for the FY 2021 Community Development Block Grant for senior services in the amount of $138,775 to be funded through the CDBG funds and local match, ARPA, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Dr. Gilchrist, you have the floor again.
Yes, so this particular contract is with the architect who worked with us to design the original plan to submit with our grant application. And it's basically just to, the architect will be the person that's kind of working with all of the contractors to ensure that the plans they move forward as designed.
Any questions forward?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
No problem. So, all right. So this is what this is grant. Is this they're providing architectural design, so professional services. And what was the process that we went through to select them, or did they come by default because of their prior work and involvement in preparing us to submit an application for this grant? Can you answer that, please?
Yes, sir, I sure can. So essentially, we went through the bid process through the procurement department, and so this was the architectural firm that was selected when we submitted our initial application to the DCA. When we submitted our initial application, and because we were not awarded the application, the funds during the first application phase, they allowed us to use the same architect for this period.
Okay, so they got dealt for. All right, it was allowed. Okay, I just was able to perceive a difference in what I've heard in times past, but I'm good. You clarified what I was looking for. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for? Okay, if not, I'm going to move on to tab number 9. Tab number 9. Thank you so much, Dr. Gilchrist.
Thank you.
Tab number 9 is authorization to accept the GMA Emergency Management Performance Grant award in the amount of $39,721 and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Director Milholland, you have the floor.
Yes, this is the grant that I brought to you guys a few weeks ago. GMA, after they received our application, they approved it. They saw we met the standards that they required on this yearly grant and approved it, sent us a check, and it's over at finance. So I was just going to request that we formally accept the funds and amend EMA's budget by that amount.
Thank you so much, Director Milholland. For the commissioners, any questions regarding? Your Commissioner Guido, you have the floor.
Jason, this has nothing to do with this grant, but I was asked this at a HOA meeting last week. Do we have the mechanism where that a signal can be sent out to cell phones about like a tornado, real bad weather?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember receiving them, but we did years ago, it seemed like.
Yeah, we have Code Red. Did you sign this opt-in system that you signed up? It's on the front page of the Celebrate Douglas County website. It's called Code Red. You the citizen signs up for it, and they will get the alerts, and it only alerts for tornado warnings, flash flood warnings, and severe thunderstorm warnings. Because there's so many of the other type warnings you get that people opt out if you start notifying too much. But the most serious threats if they sign up for them. They can choose which one of those they want to sign up for when they register for the Code Red. We also use Code Red for even when people don't sign up for missing dementia patients or autistic individuals or individuals that are missing that are higher risk of being in danger. We use a system where we purchase information where we can send it out by a certain area. Say, please be on the lookout for this individual for this reason. You see them, let us know so we can try to get them back safely where they need to be. So that's the two areas we use the Code Red system for.
Well, it seems like I signed up years ago and I was getting them, and all of a sudden I stopped getting them. And I just wondered, was it because we changed systems, or did people get dropped from the list?
Not to my knowledge. As far as I know, it was. We can kind of check and see, or if you just want to try to enter your information on the website, just re-put it in there. You wouldn't get it. You can just and make sure that the telephone number you have registered and your address is current. And I know you hadn't moved or anything, but just make sure that it is in system. It did not drop off for some reason, but we've not changed or anything.
Okay, is there a link that I could put in my newsletter to get this out to people?
Yes, ma'am. Let me send it to you. It's on the webpage. I can copy paste and send it to you.
All right.
That way you have it directly to go out.
I was asked this by someone that's in the business and said, why don't we have it out here? And I said, well, it seems like we used to, but
we do.
For some reason, I'm not getting those alerts. I get the Amber alerts and things like that.
Yeah, that's totally different, right? The Amber alerts are different than what we do with the Code Red.
But that's the only kind of alerts I get. But I hear a siren, but they can't, where they lived, it was Danielle Estates way out. And they do not have a siren out there.
We have, in the county area, we have 18 sirens. The city has 18 sirens on the outdoor warning devices, and we try to really encourage people to get weather radios instead of depending on those sirens, especially when they're inside. I can't preach that enough. Please buy a weather radio. That is old technology that works. It's a standard that we still push and want people to get those weather radios for those indoor warnings.
Well, if you're not sitting by the radio, you're not going to hear. But is there any plans to add sirens in the more rural areas?
We can look at it, but with the new technology, with people with cell phones, they've kind of we can still try to get grants for it or still request for funding. We can attempt to do that, but really we'll want to push people downloading the apps for the cell phones, buying the weather radios, because they are an outdoor warning device. They are not designed to notify you inside your house.
Okay, but if you would send me that link and I'll share it in my newsletter. All right.
Really
Madam Chair, you're back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. And I would ask Director Holland if you would work with Rick as well and cast a wide net, and maybe we could just maybe run something on our venues of social media and things like that at this point to just guide our citizens on how to go in and register for this code alert, red code alert. That would be just as a refresher. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. Board of Commissioners to our business item. We have tab number 10, authorization for the chairman to execute a revised car allowance agreement for Kevin T. McMurray with the district attorney's office in the total annual amount of $5,200 with no additional impact to the budget. Laura Thompson, you're here today. Ms. Thompson, there you are.
Good morning. How's everyone?
Oh,
yes, ma'am. We had approved this a couple of weeks back or a month or so. And the previous person that was on this car allowance agreement, they received bi-weekly pay. The person that has it now, Kevin McMurray, he receives a monthly check. So the language is incorrect on the document, and we have wanting to correct it.
So you want to just correct it from bi-weekly to monthly?
Yes, ma'am.
Language in the contract.
Yes, ma'am. Same dollar amount, everything annually, but it just needs to be corrected in the paperwork so HR can enter it correctly.
Okay, sounds good. Board, do you have any questions regarding this?
Yes, ma'am.
Correction, Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is more of a broader, it prompted this topic that we've been having probably for a minute, car allowances. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the county attorney to also look across, and with our deputy administrator, look across everybody who has car allowances, because I'm hearing inconsistency. I'm hearing one off where this person gets it based on their contract, and this person gets it on that. And Commissioner Mitchell, did you know I get a car allowance? And so it's one of those like, which it shouldn't be. But I'm making a point about there's some inconsistency with this. And I think we need to clean this up from a policy perspective to be clear. Who is eligible? Who isn't eligible? Let's be consistent. And I just, it can be based on need. I'm not making it so absolute to my peers. It doesn't have to be an absolute. And there are situations where some may need different car allowance than others. And so I'll make that and then ask Deputy Administrator, I know at one point you actually had for level 3 and level 4, you had car allowances and who got what at a certain level. Can we get that document refreshed and sent to all the Board of Commissioners as a reminder for a future conversation? Can we have that sent, Deputy?
I'm sorry, Vice Chair, I was trying to get off mute. Yes, absolutely. We can get that sent to you. I have that information, and we'll make sure that it's been updated so that everyone who is receiving a current car allowance, you'll be able to see that, and we'll, if there's disparities there, we'll be able to look at those, consider them, and kind of determine how we'll move forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yep. And again, to the point about car allowance, but I was serious also, there is some cleanup as well, like with the Board of Commissioners. One is getting a benefit, the others are not. And so that needs to be corrected, normalized, whatever the case may be. So it's little things like that. Well, since we're all in here, let's go ahead and clean this up. So my point has been made. You'll hear more about that from my peers. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comment before? Okay, Commissioner Guida, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. I would like to extend or expand what Commissioner Robinson is talking about. I think we need an audit of people taking cars home, because I have information that implies someone is taking a car home and they've never been approved for it. They're not being taxed on it. We all know that can cause trouble with IRS with the county. So I think in department by department, it needs to be audited as to who's taking a car home. And what I don't understand is, can someone, and maybe this should be directed to Director Perry, can someone have a card, a P card, but not be approved for a car?
P card?
Well, a fuel card.
Okay.
And they use the fuel tanks to fill up vehicles, and then not even be a record of a take-home car. I think all take-home cars are supposed to be approved by this board. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Guider. And as far as the fuel is concerned, I believe, I don't have a take-home car, but I can go to the fuel pumps if I utilize a city vehicle, I can fill that car up before I return it. So one is kind of independent of the other. So just because they are able to get fuel from the fuel tanks does not mean that they necessarily have a take-home car assigned to them. But I heard you loud and clear that you want an audit of who has an assigned take-home car.
No, they may not have an assigned one. I think it's unknown as to them taking a car home. So we just need to do an audit to make sure that we're okay with IRS on this, because let me tell you, it can come back on us as a county. So if we're not taxing somebody and they're taking home a car, it could lead to some legal issues. So I would like a complete audit on it. Thank you.
Okay.
I yield back, madam.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guida. Any other questions for her?
Madam Chair.
Vice Chair Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. And to agree with Madam Guider from the 4th District Director, Deputy Director, Deputy Administrator, there is something I'll call fleet inventory. I would start there. Where are my assets first? That's how you get there. Where are the assets and who's been assigned the assets? That's how you're able to reconcile that. So I'd like to also know, okay, well, where are all assets? I've got 15 take-home cars sitting out front. Who gets them? All people get them. I know y'all got trackers and all that stuff. So just to that point, I think I'm going to agree. I don't think I'm agreeing with Madam Guider. Let's make sure you got clarity of information that is also what's of record. Like in other words, those cars, those real assets. They're being used by whomever. I don't think we're looking for anything. I think it's just opening this up and says, well, let's just make sure. All right, that's the first point. The second part is that I agree. Maybe I'm sure if you will sound like me and Madam Guider are on the same page as it relates to take this up, as it relates to car allowances. I know that there's some legislation that we've all agreed that we need this year's round of legislation can come forth. So I think this is one of the items that need to be added to this year to be taken up, fully debated and reconciled and voted on. If you agree, Madam Chair, at least we've got at least administrative concurrence on this matter. But I think it's something we do need to address and knock out. But I yield the floor. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I did have a quick conversation recently with David Corbin about inventory. Is David on the line? I would like for him to comment on that. He's on the line.
I am here, Mr. Perry.
Thank you. You mind talking about that for just a second, inventory, David?
Certainly. I mean, we've heard these some of the comments, and I've already asked the staff, at least our staff, to kind of begin to put that inventory list together and match that policy, so we can kind of get a base platform for where we are with all the vehicles. And who has those vehicles and what liability exists with those vehicles from a risk management standpoint. So once that's completed, we'll report it back to you and then mirror that up with Attorney Coleman and the board in terms of what policy decisions you need to be made around those assets.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. The executive team already started making some headway to provide that information so we can look, see how we can tee it up with our policy that as we go forward, Vice Chair. So I hope David Corbin answered your question. I said, look, Deputy County Administrator here.
We're good.
All right, you good? All right. If there are no other questions, board, we're certainly going to move on. Tab number 11 is authorization to accept a donation from the Movement Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in the form of a check on April 10th, 2022, in the amount of $300 received during the National Telecommunicator Week, and amend the budget. The Director Katrina Harley, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, Deputy County Administrator Perry, and Assistant County Administrator Stuart Stanley, and the citizens of Douglas County. During National Telecommunicator Week, held April 10th through the 16th, 2022, the Mu chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated made a donation in the amount of $300 for the purpose of celebrating Douglas County E911's telecommunicators. Today, we are asking for authorization and permission to accept and amend the E911 budget of that donation.
Thank you so much for any questions for Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next topic, which is tab 12. Number 12, authorize the chairman to execute a new employment contract with Angel Pateras as Superior Court Assistant Public Defender, which was vacated by Chris Sandbach in the amount of $68,833.96 with no impact to the budget. Public Defender, Monica Miles, our Chief Public Defender. Monica Miles, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. This is just a request to, there's been 2 employees that have resigned, and as such, Mrs. Contreras, who has currently been a state court public defender, will be moving up into Superior Court. and then her position will be, which she's going to be vacating in state court, which is the next tab. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and go to it or just do each one individually. So we're asking that the budget be amended to cover the promotion, I guess, so to speak, with no impact on the budget because you're just filling vacant spots.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, any questions for the Chief Public Defender? Okay, sounds good. We'll move on to the next one, which is tab number 14, authorization for the chairman to execute a new employment contract with Cody Dog as the lead assistant state court public defendant that was vacated by Angel Contreras in the amount of $67,595 and 84 cents with no impact to the budget. Monica Miles, again, you have the floor.
Thank you. So again, with Mrs. Contreras moving to Superior Court, that will leave her position vacant. And we're asking the board to authorize Mr. Doug's movement up into her vacant spot with, again, no impact on the budget.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Board of Commissioners, if there are no questions, we're going to move on to the next tab, which is 14, authorization to enter into an agreement. And thank you so much, Monica Miles, Chief Public Defender. Thank you. I'm going to move on to our next item, which is tab number 14. Tab number 14, authorization to enter into an agreement with Harris Local Government to print and mail an estimated $55,400 assessment notices for tax year 2022 at a cost of approximately $27,750 to be funded through the department's existing budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Director Balfour, Steve Balfour, tax assessor. Review. There you are. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, fellow commissioners and directors. This is a state requirement, and we are looking for the contract to be signed so we can go ahead. We need to send the notices out on or before July 1st each year. And this is our request to formally sign the agreement.
Any questions before?
Chair?
Madam Chair.
I heard Vice Chair first, and then, of course,
I'll be quick. Thanks, Madam Chair. Director Balfour. All right, so I got it. I get notices. I get to July 1st. And so this authorization. So do you already have funding for this? Was this budgeted, or is this something that you need from us? I mean, obviously by law, we've got to do it, but I'm just curious. Was this budgeted? Were you just looking for authorization to sign the contract?
It was budgeted, and I just had the legal review the contract, and I'm looking for the signatures.
Got it. All right, no problem. Administrative more than anything. Okay, got it. Second question is, so if we're mailing out 55, I got it. I'm not concerned about the cost of mail. It is what it is. What is going to go into the mailer? Do we know where we stand on our digests? How do we come in? Do you know?
At this point, no, we're still looking at sales. I can say that the sales, we have had a lot of sales, and the numbers are indicating that home values are going to increase. We are also in the middle of the revaluation for commercial properties, and it's also indicating commercial property values were increasing.
Which obviously is not a surprise based on home sales that you're in the general market last year. So that obviously is going to come forth in this year's valuation. So, all right, so I'm just going to hold the piece until the numbers come. No need to speculate. Like the numbers won't lie to us, and we'll make that decision in August. What we ultimately will do. He's answering my questions, Madam Chair. I yield. Thank you. Thank you, Director Balfour.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Gotti, you have the floor.
Yes, I don't understand why this is even on the agenda. This is in his budget. It was approved. Is it because it's a contract? Because, I mean, I always had to hire someone to do the assessment or the bills and everything. So I just wonder why they're having to I don't recall it coming before the board before, as far as assessment notices. But you got it in your budget.
That is correct. I was hesitant with signing the contract. I wanted it to be vetted since we now have a contract review process. So I did sign the agreement last year without it being presented to the board. But this year, I wanted to adhere with the contract review process. And I submitted it to the contract review, and it has already been reviewed by the legal. So if Michael could speak.
Right. My thought is that it was, since the county, I think, was going to be asked to sign, and I think, given the language in the code about contract needing to be approved by the board, since it was a contract, which the county is signed, I thought it would be better to have it approved by the board. Certainly understand your thought, Madam Guider, and something we'll consider in the future, but that's why this one was on.
Yeah. Okay, and I was wondering about the number too, because it seems like we mailed out more tax bills than that. You have to mail out an assessment notice to everybody. So, but anyway, I yield back. If legal says we need to have it come before this board, that's fine. But I don't recall I never took my tax bills contract before the board. So anyway, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harris. Okay. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good point. I think we've all probably had these conversations. I know we were in Savannah recently, Commissioner Parks in the 3rd District. We were also in this conversation about streamlining our legislative process. What does need to come before us? If with the letter of the law, that everything that's the content that we have signed, we'd be here forever. And so then it becomes, okay, but what can be delegated through proxy? What can be administrative concurrence? Right? We're trying to avoid the theater, people get to come and get before. I'm like, no, guys, we're trying to be efficient use of people's times. And so I think that there is some things, like in this one right here, I would say, well, that's administrative concurrence. All right, don't go on the agenda tomorrow, keep it moving. Right? And so to that point, but we're not clear. There needs to be clarity, which is, it's okay. My point is, we know this legislative process comes out. We need to streamline some of the things, like you guys were recently working on regarding planning and zoning. Trying to streamline that over time to speak and different things. So again, I think this is one that we need to look at. Whether it's a dollar amount threshold trigger that can come before us, or I mean, you do have directors. They do have power. The Constitution, they have power. They can do that. Now I know there needs to be an oversight and a check and balance. So, county attorney, that's the balancing act, right? How much power do you give away? And how much do you, if you give it away, you got to make sure you can oversee it, and it doesn't get away from you. So I think there is a balancing act, but we need to have this conversation just to make sure that it's as optimal as it can be. That's all I'm asking. So I agree with everybody. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may speak to that.
Yes, you may. Okay.
So Vice Chair, your comment is very timely, because this is a discussion that I've actually been engaged in very recently in a deliberation, about what actually needs to be signed by the chair, what needs to be, approved by the board, what can be delegated, and with your, comment as it is, I will take that as a direction to go and review the matter and come up with some suggested policy or even code revision to address that question. I think that to the extent that, there's something that someone else can sign, it may be that we can have the board to approve it and then delegate signing authority elsewhere. So there are two questions. One is what needs to be approved by the board, and secondly, who can sign, and what threshold do we have to require the chair to sign? There are many smaller agreements that the chair, right now it seems like the chair signs everything, and then maybe some of that can be delegated. So I'll take the comment as I'll continue to review the matter and come forward at some point with some suggested either policy or legislative changes to address that and provide for a proper review and signature with, the upon delegation or something along those lines. So I just wanted to say that is a topic that I have been thinking about and trying to, come up with some best practices on it. So thank you very much.
Acknowledgement and acknowledgement. Madam Chair, yield. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Clausen, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Balfour. My question to you is in regards to the last portion of your comment where you stated that we know that assessments will go out, and with the recent increase in property values, we know that a lot of citizens will have sticker shock on their taxes. What are we doing to address that to help the citizens to understand how to calculate their own property values, where to go if they think that their property value assessed was assessed too much, or how are we educating our citizens to kind of help alleviate your office from being inundated with calls once people get their tax assessments going out? What are we doing ahead of time?
That's a very good question. From my perspective, we do what we normally do. We send the notices out with the notification that it's not a bill, it's an assessment, and you can appeal this assessment. If the taxpayers think that it's not fair, it's not fair market value, this is the reason for the notices. So they can always appeal. They will have 45 days in which to appeal these values, and they can choose an option for the Board of Equalization. For properties that are valued above 500,000, they can choose the option for a hearing officer, or they can do also an arbitration. So there are three methods in which we can properties can be appealed, and this is the reason for sending notices out.
Is there more that we can do? Should we put this in the paper? Should we put this on DCTV 23? Should we also add this to the website? What I'm trying to avoid is, one, people always think that we raise the taxes when they get their notices. They're like, oh, the board of commissioners raised our taxes again, as opposed to really understanding that your property value has gone up, which is a good thing, right? Especially when you get ready to go sell. Not so much a good thing while you're left in there, right? But you kind of have to balance both. So just wanted to know what can we do in order to help just to help educate people a little bit more. I did get my assessment. My assessment went up. It did say this is not a bill, and it helped me to prepare for what's to come. But again, I was on the Board of Assessors, so I understand the process. But 90% of people just don't. They just think that we are the ones who are raising their.
We do have the information on the website. It would be good and nice to have would be to make taxpayers and the public aware of market forces, that we are really just working with what the market says. We are not, my obligation is to ascertain fair market value. So that's all I'm doing. The Department of Revenue's guidelines says that we are required to appraise homes within 90% and 110% of sales. So we look at the sales, and we are required to have a sales ratio within that ratio. And that's how we get an accepted digest. If we fall outside of this value, our digest may not be accepted by the Department of Revenue, and the commissioners will have no source of fund. So without an accepted digest, there is no funding. So our schools will suffer, our fire department, name it, that's where we get our funding from. So it's just about making awareness, maybe with DCTV, make the public aware that we are just trying to ascertain fair market value, what knowledgeable buyer and an informed seller would sell their home for on the open market. And we're just doing our job.
Exactly. And to that point, the only way that the county pays for all of the services that we give is through property tax and sales tax. That's our only two ways. And so some of the services that you just named would not get done without you all doing the assessments of the values of the properties. And we are sensitive to inflation. Inflation has caused an increase in all services and in all goods. And so that's something that we have to account for. So, Madam Chair, thank you, Mr. Balfour. So, Madam Chair, I would ask the administration if we could to get with Mr. Balfour and possibly put this in the Douglas Sentinel,
Yes.
just to kind of help people be aware of this. We know it's still going to be a shock, but I think it's always good to give people an education, at least a primer, so that they can look at what's to come and then prepare themselves as well. Educate them as opposed to just telling them, well, this is it. Let's educate them.
I agree. Yes, we'll take care of it, and certainly Rick and Mr. Steve Balfour, if y'all could just get together, we will talk offline and make sure that this information is communicated so we can educate our citizens appropriately.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I yield.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner Daggett, you have the floor.
Just a little sidebar, just because your assessment goes up, if it's your homesteaded property, does not mean your taxes will go up. Because we have the floating homestead exemption out here. And, but what Mr. Balfour, Director Balfour was talking about originally were sales. Now, all of those properties will probably be going up, but those are will be new values because it goes back to the market value. So, and it's my understanding a lot of corporations are buying these homes. Is that true?
There are a lot of investor sales. That is correct.
And they can't get homestead, of course, but that worries me because we're being taken over by Blackstock and Chinese companies and things like that. So I know a lot of people would rather rent, but I'd rather have people moving into Douglas County and they become more vested that way. But just because your homestead exemption assessment goes up does not mean your tax will go up. We will determine that when we set the tax rate.
That is correct. That's a function of the commissioners.
And that way it won't scare all the homeowners out there. So with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Daggett, and thank you so much.
Okay, just one question.
Okay, Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
So just one question. So what effect does the sale of a foreclosure property who possibly could sell under value versus those that are selling at market value? What kind of effect does that have on your assessed values and those? How do you guys deal with that?
It has the same effect. It's back in 2009 when the market slumped, sales and foreclosures, short sales and foreclosures were considered market value. And that's also now in the updated definition of fair market value from the Department of Revenue. So it's the preponderance of sales and evidence. And we are guided by everything Department of Revenue.
So you'll take the lowest of the lower end, like a short sale or foreclosure or something.
We get rid of outliers and we look at median values. So it's the preponderance of evidence and sales. So we will remove outliers and look at median sales.
And I only wanted you to say that for the general public so they can understand kind of how all this unfolds in the end. So thank you again.
Thanks for that question.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
I yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. And if there are no other questions for Director Balfour, Vice Chair Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, but again, to this point, and again, I know Commissioner Mitchell is driving the narrative in the conversation regarding affordable housing, but again, look at Douglas County's current situation. We're still standing on 43% of our citizen base are renters. Go back to the Great Recession. Go back to the need for financial literacy and education. It's a decade later now, but we're still 43%. The numbers don't lie. It's not about who's moving in and moving out. It's the current situation. 43% of our county are renters. That is huge. Right? So that tells you about our current state. Right? So I guess people are just renting their homes. They're having a different value proposition, a kitchen table type of conversation. Well, I'm not going to do it that way. The younger generation has a different mindset. And so it's being able to adapt to the current state, that you got people who are looking at things a little bit differently, like, I'm not going to do it that way. They're not valuing the asset of a home as has been the historical programming of America. It's shifted. Right? It's how you relate to your life, how you relate to what you think is important. So you got two different, and they can coexist. They will coexist. But I'm saying, okay, guys, look at our foreclosures. I sent y'all that report by district. Look at foreclosures. Right? Look at the digest. Look at all this. All matters as we make these choices. It's okay. So here we go. We're doing well. Yeah, we got some long-term. Yeah, I hear you're going to take care of not just the fire. You're going to take care of everybody. I can't worry about what historically hadn't happened. I'm not going to feel bad or victimized by making a decision today. I'll do it. I'll own it. Got it. But here's the thing, guys. This thing is, you guys are in a good financial position. It got understated, Madam Chair, during your state of time. Like, no, guys. Same thing I told last minute. All right, guys, you're actually doing well. And so, yeah, we got some priorities, but the tax bill, like, all right, y'all got enough. I may want to consider easing off this thing. This thing coming in, it's like that. Last year, I can only imagine what it's about to tell us. So now y'all get to make another policy decision. Like, okay, guys, you can take it all, give a little relief, recognize you got stuff downstream that you got to deal with. But this is like, no, right now, we're sensitive that you may feel it, but we're looking at it. We're creating it. Yes, it's market force, but we're still the policy maker. I can't blame the market because, like, well, okay, I have to factor that in to my decision making, but I can't blame it. I own it. I do make the decision. So anyway, guys, this is a good conversation. It's better than what it's been, and it'll be great compared to what we had to deal with in the past. It's not that situation. It's a good problem to have, but I would say, guys, we need to be thinking the next couple months. What will we do? Recognize the priorities we're trying to get at. Recognizing the pressure on our citizens. Okay, guys, let's balance this thing out. So, David Corbin, I look forward to talking to you when we get a little bit further along. Director Balfour, because the numbers ain't gonna lie. The question is, what will the board do? Take the position. All right, Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, if there are no further questions for Director Balfour, we'll move on board. We have tab number 15, approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Douglas County Community Services Board, CSB, for various behavioral health, substance use, and shelter plus care clients in the amount of $1,050,000 over 2 years, and $550,000 for 2022, and $500,000 for 2023 to be funded through the ARPA funds, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final review. Rosalind Miller, you have the floor, interim finance director.
Good morning. Staff is requesting approval of the MOU that's before you this morning with CSB, and this is to provide shelter plus care clients with rent forgiveness, attorney fees on behalf of the client, home maintenance and repair, and also clinical services. This is funded through the ARPA budget that was approved by the board in December the 14th. And as it states that this year's allocation would be $550,000.
Thank you so much. Muller, any questions, board?
Yes.
Vice Chair Robinson, you have the floor.
Yes. Again, I always have to be on both sides of this equation. Real quick, Director Miller. So again, one more time to the broader group. Okay, so where do we stand with our ARPA money? Look, we're burning through it. Right? The board made a decision a while ago. Yes, we come in part-time, and so I'm just looking for say, okay, well, how much have we spent so far? Go back to that SPLOS model. Again, I get Terry Gable and David Good has done an excellent job of engaging us to show us how to report. Always know where we stand. Every month, consistent for 6 years, at least 5. You guys get it. So I'm driving home this point, like, okay, on this federal money, guys, where are we? And I'm hearing us now, Madam Chair, beginning to burn down and take off the list. We're beginning to take stuff off and beginning to chop it up, which is fine. I'm for that. But I'm like, okay, so we think it happening now somewhere. Now, if the list is shifting now, I'm hearing the money is being converted. It's being translated into some action. The will of the board is that list. Y'all are doing it great, but okay, but was it specifically a project? I mean, we gave broad appropriations to areas. And so now they're converting it into actual initiatives. It's like, okay, so how much money is left over? And what's actually on the list? Did something get knocked off? Or something been amended? And so I just asked for a little bit more detail. Again, I'm going to keep driving this home. Nothing for this particular moment. I know we can't stop it. I have nothing against what I'm hearing here. Other than I do want to acknowledge one thing, that 550 now, the Board of Commissioners, again, consistently awarded, we're appropriated to CSB, I think what, 550 times 5 years? The appropriation that's supposed to last 5 years. It sounds like you're acknowledging, I think we're at the end of those last 2 rounds of 550 per year. Is that true, Doctor? I need Director Lightfoot back on here. I want him to speak to this. Madam Chair, may I ask him to?
I don't know if is he still here? Lisa, can you see?
All right, if he doesn't, now I don't want to put Director Miller in place. She's just facilitating this, but again, this is appropriation for his area. So can you speak to that, Director Miller, without knowing I'm not binding you? It's just what you know, please.
Are you?
Yeah, 550.
Yes, and that is dealing with the general fund allocation and annual allocation.
I understand, and I'm aware. I'm just making a point. So, board, y'all know that this is we're reaffirming what we already set in motion, and so we're saying we'll do 2 more rounds of 550 with this, which completes what we set in motion. That's 3 years. Will you do? So it's just putting it on the grid, like, okay, I want to, Ray, they need to keep up with your revenue against that. Okay, are we going to reappropriate another 5 years from now? You need to budget that. Right, this is general fund money. You got a budget for it. Again, we got a budget for it. And so again, what is the priorities of the county? And so I agree. It's not one single priority. There are multiple priorities. It's a word called equity. Right? It's not about what is greater than this, that, and other, and this person is greater than that, and that has more. No. It's about equity. And it's up to us to be responsible for all areas, all 64 areas of service delivery. All of them. So we got to spread this out accordingly, not just constantly one and try to marginalize or bully or say that that's like, no. We'll be equitable in how we approach this, and every board member will weigh in how they want to, and that will be the collective will. But Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that we're aware on this one, since mental health was important this morning. We've heard it 3 times. That I even got to earlier. Okay, but what's the ask? I asked that earlier. It was just a presentation, but now here we're down here like, okay, y'all know about the appropriate more or reaffirm. So I just wanted that to be addressed. We can deal with it tomorrow, Madam Chair. I do want Director Lightfoot to address this tomorrow, before we at some point. I yield. That's it, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Certainly, I would like to just and Rosalind, if you could just share with the board this ask is certainly the funding is tied to the offer that was already in place, but we needed an MOU in order to allow any distribution to occur. So it's what's already been appropriated, but your question comes at a good time regarding our balance, because we had to submit the report this past week. Do you have any information for the board what the balance look like on our ARPA funding? Rosalind, I know Jill Hobson worked with you on that, who's our grant manager. So do you have just a little update you can provide the board with?
Yes, I do. A total of 6.9 million, and that's for 2 years so far that has been actually checks cut and obligations met. And we had the vaccine for the employees and for the citizens. Of course, we have the hazard pay for the employees. And I think, look at my worksheet.
I knew I caught you off guard, Rosalind.
I do have it now. Thank you. Yes, as I mentioned, actually 6 million has been spent. We've had the biggest expenditure is the incentive for the public safety of the 10% increase in salary, and the non-public safety of the 5%. That was 4 million. And then the incentives for hazard pay, which was $1,000 for full-time and 500 to part-time, that was 1.5 million. And we did have a payment to CSB for allocating at the 550 at the time. Last year they did have a contract in place, so therefore we were able to provide an allocation of $283,000, and that comes from that 550 that is listed on your agenda today. And as I mentioned, the vaccine for the employees and for the citizens.
Thank you so much, Rosalind, and certainly we still want to make sure that this information is, this comprehensive report is made available to the board, but not only that, that's going to tie into the project manager's positions as they come and work with our grant manager. All this information will be coming forth, and I had Director Amos. Are you on the line today? Certainly, I know you are moving quickly and profusely to find us a project manager. Can you give us just an update, Director Amos, if you're on the line?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, we have closed the bids. We closed last week for a manager, and so we are going to start assessing the bid packages, and then we'll have, I guess, a list of project managers that can work with us for grants. And I'm looking to have that in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
All right, board, if there are no questions, we're going to move on to our next one. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. No, Director Amos, there's two parts to that. Yes, there's the pool or on-demand project managers based on skill sets. The one prior to that, though, was the aggregator of a single view of the federal grants. And I think that we're working with a federal grant administrator or some type of contract administrator. That was also put out there. Where does that stand as it relates to that award?
Yes, that particular bid closed last week. The on-demand project management bid closes in 2 days on the 4th. So we had 2 separate bids. And so Jill and I are scheduled to meet this week to discuss the actual methodology, not methodology, but just going through the actual bid packages that we currently have for the oversight of the grant administrator. And then we have the evaluation, and we'll have a recommendation for the board.
Sounds good. So at some point that's going to go to, is that going to a committee? Is that going to the procurement oversight?
So that'll be a 2-step process, Commissioner. One, we will have one evaluation team to just sit down and evaluate, and then we will go to the procurement oversight committee, and then to the board.
Sounds good. Just want that big numbers. All right, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yo.
All right, thank you so much, Vice Chair Robinson, and also thank you, Director Amos. if there are no further conversation regarding this particular matter, we will move on to the next item. We are almost at the end of our agenda. Tab number 16, approval of a memorandum of understanding in order to establish a working relationship between Douglas County agencies, including the Douglas County District Attorney's Office, the Douglas County Solicitor General's Office, and the Douglas County Sheriff's Office to promote, support, administer, and enhance services provided to victims of crime in Douglas County, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. We have Lena Bass here today. Hi.
Hey, I'm sorry, Lynn was unable to make it today, so I'm going to fill in for her.
Okay.
This is our normal MOU that we sign with all the departments when we go with our victim services, and we are just needing an updated signature to turn in with other grants that we have to produce this for.
Okay. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, any questions regarding this updated request? This request to update the current memorandum of understanding. Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, me too. We're going to move on forward to tab number 17. Last but certainly not least, this is approval to revise the budget of Transitions Connect Douglas third-party operator for the FY 2022 through 2023 to $1,924,821.46 from FY 2021 to 2022 budget of $1,840,000 and $635.35 with no impact to the budget for the purposes of driver retainage. Our new director of transit, Ron Roberts, you have the floor.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Good morning. Actually, afternoon to everyone, commissioners and citizens and other directors listening in. Yes, so last winter, the contract with Transitions was extended, and this is...
Hey, man. I need everybody to mute the mics. 3 bids. I need everyone to mute the mic. 3 bids. You have the floor again. Sorry.
It's okay. So in talking with staff, and Jeff Picaris is also on here from Transitions. So we met with local staff and also some staff from Orlando and looked at what was going on. So there, when I spoke with the human services the director there, deployment director, they said they lost about 40 people last year. So that equates to some $1,000 that's spent on training these employees. So they're getting them in, and then they're going on to other positions because of pay. And so when you think about the numbers there, you've got 40 people that came in, $1,000 each, and then they're moving on. And plus that, they also Transitions also has a robust program where they're actually actively trying to recruit drivers into the program. So the money that we're asking for the increase is to raise their pay scale to a comparable scale to what Cobb Link provides and other employers around the city. So we can kind of like stabilize the revolving door that's kind of going on. So it's an increase from last year's budget of $84,000, and it's for increasing the salaries of the drivers, the lead drivers, and the para drivers, all 3 categories. And I'm available for any questions. And Mr. Bakaris is on here from Transitions as well. Yeah, if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Director Roberts. With love for, you said who's on the line as well to speak?
Jeff Bakaris.
Mr. Bakaris, do you have anything to add before certainly the commissioners start with their questions? Mr. Bakaris.
No, Mr.
Mr. Roberts covered it perfectly. We just to reiterate what he said is we have, a revolving door with some drivers because they come online, they go through the training, we don't just throw them on one of the buses on day one. They have to, do ride-alongs. They have to do training as required by insurances, which has fees. And then what they do is they turn around and anywhere from, honestly, a few days to a few months, they either get another job driving at a higher rate or another job in the county at a higher rate. So I just support and fully can attest to what Mr. Roberts just said. So that's all.
Oh, thank you. All right, board, do you have any questions? I see a camera on. Commissioner Guida, you have the floor.
All right. Ryan, what are they getting paid now per hour?
13, well, like I said, 3 different pay scales, but the average drivers that they're recruiting is $13.50.
And Cobb, you compared them to Cobb Link.
$16.50 is starting salary at Cobb Link.
It's what? I'm sorry?
$16.50.
Yeah, but are they the van buses or are they the larger buses?
It's all the fixed route, Mr. Guider. It's all the fixed route buses. Like I said, we're working very hard to get the van school program kicked back up. So a lot of the presentation was this morning. Some of the staff have already been working with them, but we don't have drivers for the van yet. So it really is the
No. I'm talking about the Connect buses.
Yes.
The small buses. Is that what you're comparing the salaries to Cobb County or the big buses over there?
Yeah, so the majority of the fleet in Cobb is 55-foot buses. So they're the big buses, yes. Not the cutaways that we use.
Yeah, it just seems like our buses are mostly empty. The ones that I see coming in on Douglas Boulevard, they're always empty. The drivers just get off, walk around, then get back on, and off they go again. Now, if they were driving a big bus, I could understand, you comparing the salaries, but this is.
Well, it's $1. It's $1 less. So I mean, what the entry then would be go from $13.50 to $15.50 for the entry drivers.
Have you looked to see if that's the only reason they have the turnaround? Maybe it's other things.
Well, I think that the turnaround is going to be pay driven.
So you're welcome to bring them up to $15 an hour, which is the minimum that we.
Yes, ma'am. That's the request, and as I stated, this money is already in our budget to do this. They had a slight increase when I look back over the last 3 years' budgets. They had a slight increase last year, about 70-something thousand. It's just the cost of things and the cost of the service goes up a little bit, but this is specific to try to retain the drivers. I think this goes to a larger discussion that really gets to the value of the service. I mean, if we can get some good drivers in and I've met some of them already, and they stay with the program, then the citizens get to know those drivers, and there becomes more of an ownership. It's a more value-added experience instead of just looking at ridership. It's actually considering, the quality of the individual that's actually sitting on the bus and providing the services for the riders. So it does make sense to me after looking at the budget, after talking with transition staff, to make this kind of a commitment and going forward with the drivers. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does, but I don't know. Bus driver for a 15-passenger van is very different from one that's driving a 55-foot vehicle. And so I don't know that we should bring them up to exactly what you're comparing them to. That's like comparing apples to oranges. It's like on the road department, anybody that can drive, you know, a paver or something like that would probably get more than someone that's just driving a dump truck. So
it wasn't necessarily a comparison of the large bus drivers to the smaller bus drivers. Like I said, that their starting salary is like $16.50 at Cobb Link for the bigger buses. This is bringing them up $2 an hour. But the fees that are associated with that Jeff just spoke about, those are, it doesn't matter whether they drive the small bus or the big bus. It's still that $1,000 expended for the training is being lost, and it doesn't. And so that is actually a comparison. I mean, if they were going to drive the big bus, they get the training, and that's part of the problem there. You know, they come to Douglas County, and they can start here, get the training they need, and then transfer for a little bit more. I think the transitions goal, especially during this contract period, try to retain those drivers as much as possible and keep them with the program.
I would be more in favor of a signing bonus or something like that, incentive, because we've used it in our department and with EMS and everything. So, but it seems like they raised it last year, they're raising it again this year. It seems like we're throwing good money after bad because it hasn't improved. So I'll have to think about it. Everybody's got one vote, so I'll just have to think about it. My colleagues can do the same, and then all right. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
I know you inherited a lot of these problems. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying I don't like to throw good money after bad. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're back.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Brennan. I believe the chairman of the Transportation Committee has your hand up, Vice Chairman Robinson.
Actually, I wasn't. I was in thought listening. Since you called me, I'll go ahead and take this. So I guess thank you. You read my spirit. All right, I'll be quick. And we do need to have this conversation one more time, 3 years into a pilot. I'll take the political narrative to the side. There's still citizens got a need. And there's no bad citizen out there. If your problem is not bad, then you're not bad. Right? No, appropriate accordingly. Everybody needs gets met at some type of way. Right? So your problem cannot be marginalized because you have a mobility, you don't have many options. So I'm going to speak just from District 2 only. Now we care about you. We hear your issues, which may not be the next person's issues. And please understand my position is that I will not let anybody else marginalize your existence with a narrative that intends to punch down, tries to superiority type of thing. I just 14 years long, all this weekend in training, I'm hearing this narrative in these classes. We all can coexist. I get it, but to the citizens, I need to know that you don't have to worry or try to feel bad or because there's some type of bully narrative that because I'm lying, I'm less than all. You must be out your mind. Those who have less are not less. Let me be clear. No First Amendment opinion can move to believe that all citizens are equal. Now, the appropriation is equitable. Depends on the need. A man can look over a baseball field. It's pretty easy. One may need a step to get, she needs a little help, look over. Kids need a little bit more help. So they all equally can look, but they got different equity distribution. And those who are disabled, hey, I'm going to cut a hole in the fence. Y'all ain't got it. Y'all just roll up to it. There's other flowers in the garden. There's other beings that need to be addressed. But we're not commodities. Everybody has different needs. And so the priority system, we get priorities. But priorities are not concentrated in any one class, any one idea. It's spread. It's called democracy. Everybody wins. But again, we're maturing, and we can be diplomatic, and there's diplomacy in having divergent rate movement, different opinion. And the board will set it accordingly. So you guys, yes, I agree with Mr. Dyer. Let's weigh in on this topic. It is important stuff, and it does speak to the bigger, our bigger way of doing things here. Madam Chair, that's all I had to say. Thanks. How you?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments, we're going to move on to our last item, which is discussion of the Animal Control Advisory Board fundraising is the topic. Certainly that this question has come before, particularly Commissioner Robinson and myself, and I believe the email was addressed to all the Board of Commissioners regarding fundraising for our Animal Control Advisory Board, and we're just trying to, myself is just, again, needed some guidance, particularly from our attorney, whether this fundraising can be something part of the job responsibilities of the Animal Control Advisory Board. And Vice Chairman Robinson, you may be coming from a different angle. Is this kind of where you want to go with this discussion, or so if place it on the agenda as something that you request it?
May I?
Yes, you have to.
All right, I'll jump right in. Again, first, my peers, you saw a communication that came out. We received communication from the chair of the Animal Control Advisory Board regarding a matter in our shelter, how to basically participate in the community. And so I thought it was a worthwhile topic because it was a legal question. It's not could the board do it, or meaning the ACAB do it, or that area, but should we? And so, Madam Chair, what I was asking for in this discussion, because it needs to be public, is for either Vanessa, the director of the animal shelter, or the chair of ACAB, Maureen Linton, to speak to, okay, so what are y'all asking us to do? Our county attorney has been obviously did some homework, I guess, regarding this matter, can speak to it. So the point was, Madam Chair, well, they asked for clarity, so I would think that the two directors need to go ahead and present it to us publicly, not through emails. Those are important. Let's have a public debate regarding this, dealing with fundraising and the roles of the boards, respectively, across all boards. Should we allow fundraising within these annexed organizations that we participate with? And if there needs to be a clarity of code or policy, let's bring it up. But this just happened to be the one that sort of lit the fire. So I'm going to yield right now, see if either one of them are here, Madam Chair, to speak what they're looking for.
I do see our director of Animal Services, which is Director Frank Kelsey. She's here. Vanessa, thank you for coming in. If you could just chime in and just pick up the question that Commissioner Robinson just asked, and just shed some light on the subject matter for us.
Absolutely. Good morning. I am an advisor to Animal Control Advisory Board. I'm not a sitting board member, so I don't have a vote in anything. However, what we've been discussing recently is fundraising options. In the past, Commissioner Mulcair had done some fundraising for the shelter. Now, when he did it on behalf of the Humane Society, and his was portions of the Spay-Neuter Gala, which funded our spay-neuter program here at the shelter. During COVID, our gala got shut down, and because of restrictions on people coming, it pretty much went away. So we lost our funding for our program through the Spay-Neuter Gala. However, the Humane Society has gone ahead and stepped to the plate and started fundraising on our behalf to keep our program going. Animal Advisory has wanted to go ahead and start fundraising as well to help in other areas of the shelter, whether it be for programs, whether it be for, equipment for the yard, courtyards, any kind of enhancements they'd like to go ahead and help. The problem is because they are appointed by the Board of Commissioners, they were weary on fundraising. Would it be considered a conflict of interest? Because it's appointed by commissioners and the money would be going to the shelter, or how would that work? So we're a little bit of a standstill as far as going forward on fundraising. But again, this money would be used for either programs here at the shelter or things maybe like a transport vehicle for adoption events.
Thank you.
Chair?
Commissioner Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond. Thank you, Madam Chair. So Director, duly noted on the historical precedent that we have done fundraiser, and everybody loves everybody has a tolerance. I get it. So this is not a controversial issue. It's more just clarity. I think that was being asked. So I think it's obviously it's going to be a policy decision that the board will make. We have done September Saturdays, which is the fundraiser by the county. And that money comes in and whatever it goes to cover costs, etc. We've been doing that. I mean, I'm from County Attorney Michael Coleman. There are things that we have done fundraisers for, meaning direct government, and those that were ancillary, tangential. But I want to yield with that just for this moment. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask County Attorney Coleman, can he weigh in on this regarding our charter in relationship to what should we be doing and what questions should be asked right now? Can he speak, Madam Chair?
Yes, you may. Attorney Coleman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Vice Chair. So we took a look at the poll regarding the responsibilities of the board, and it's fairly broad. There are some two categories, really, some very, very specific responsibilities, and others are more permissive. To be more specific, the code says that the board has the power and duty, end quote, to one, study animal-related issues and make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners. Two, review and make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners regarding ordinances relating to the control and welfare of animals. And three, supply reports to the Board of Commissioners at such frequency the board may require. There's a final category 4, which is permissive. It says take on other duties as prescribed by the Board of Commissioners. So I think that, there's a broad range of other duties you could prescribe to them. And I would assume that could include fundraising. I don't know of any reason why it couldn't. We want to have some type of, mechanism for, accounting for any funds raised and making sure that, is attributed to the fundraising activities as opposed to other sources of revenue. But I'm not aware of any restriction on being able, or any prohibition on being able to engage in fundraising under that last category. I do believe that the board would, to the extent it wants to prescribe additional duties under item 4, would want to do so clearly and in some type of written direction or communication or policy for the board. But that's kind of my review of the statute and what it reveals.
Thank you for that. That was sufficient. So again, it comes down, again, the highest governing authority at the local level is the Board of Commissioners. It's the will of the board. So in this matter, again, I'm all about empowerment, not about impoverishing. Make sure things have adequate support. And I appreciate volunteer, what they call civic and community and faith-based, and all those organizations that are out there to try to help. I appreciate the agencies that are trying to offset costs associated with the direct taxation. So I appreciate Director coming forth and bringing this forward. All right, that being said, I guess my question is, Director, is this, who's going to do the work? Because at the end of the day, I'm in my spirit, it's like, okay, that means somebody will have to get in and do a fundraiser. You got to ask for some money. There's got to be a formal programming. There's formal, you got like campaign contribution. You got to keep up with this. This is being used, and yeah, I mean, everybody is not of that nature. Everybody ain't gonna run for office. Right? It sounds like there's an ideological issue here. And if the board chooses to do it, then there has to be, to its point, mechanism, but also a true commitment to actually do it. And so, do you have the bandwidth? Is there an expectation that Are we expecting staff to be involved in the fundraiser, or is it that it's the ACA board that has to now? Yeah, we got to go raise some money. We got to help facilitate it. We got to open doors. We're going to help coordinate some event. I'm just trying to get to the point, get to the major issue here, because it's something like, well, why is this an issue?
My understanding is we have events here. I have an event coordinator, a resource coordinator that handles all of our events. I am limited on staff like every other department right now. So it is hard for me to, sacrifice a few members here to go out to an outside event when I don't have many employees here in the building. I have no problem helping with events, but if this is something that they want to fundraise on their own, I would, really just ask that they try to find some volunteers or get some people on their own until I get plenty of staff. The Humane Society is able to fundraise using their volunteers. I think if the Animal Advisory Board can go ahead and do the same, that would be great. they can always have fundraisers here at the shelter, no problem. But I think right now at this point, I don't have enough staff to go ahead and go around and help additional events outside of the building.
Got it. You've answered my question. This has been great. The board obviously is very clear on what the issue is and where everything is. So, Madam Chair, I'm good. Thank you. I yield.
Madam Chair, if I may add one further bit of information. So many instances with which I am familiar and which I have participated that involve fundraising for a public entity, the fundraising is generally done separately through a foundation. There's a foundation generally set up, and the advantage of that is that it's a separate entity that's doing the fundraising, and it can, prepare its own financial reports, etc., and the funds then turn over to that entity. There are certain tax advantages to using a foundation, so that if it's used for a public purpose, you have tax exempt status. So that may be something, and there are lots of examples of that. I mean, I know that, for example, City of Atlanta, the police foundation that raises extra funds to assist the police department. I know there are other examples around the area. So I wanted to offer that up as just something to consider as you talk more about this topic.
Thank you so much, Attorney Kennedy. I believe Commissioner Guider, you have something to add. You have the floor.
As in the past, the animal control people, they did dog shows, and because I participated in them, and there was a lot of participation, and it was done at Mac Road, Deerlick Park. So that would be a good thing, and anybody that wanted to just help with it, they could just donate their time or be a judge or whatever, be a, just control the microphone and everything like that. But I think they are a 501(c) or some kind of a tax exempt group. So we might look at that and go forward with that. We can all participate with our time and everything. If we want to throw $20 in a basket, so be it. It should come out of our pocket. Anytime you give to charity, it ought to come out of your pocket, not the county's coffers. So anyway, I yield back. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for a point well taken. All right. Any other questions, board, for?
Just one, Madam Chair. I'm just curious.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Yeah. Well, I'm lost as what this conversation is all about, though. Is it, Vanessa, that we're trying to get volunteers, or we're trying to do a fundraiser, or who does the fundraiser, or maybe I got lost in all of this.
No, this started with our last animal control meeting, and it was brought to the table that they started talking about fundraising, and one of the board members had stated that there was a conflict in information where she was told that animal advisory should not be fundraising. And so that's where this whole thing came about, was they wanted some clarity. So the Animal Control Advisory Board head had reached out to the Board of Commissioners in regards to wanting some clarity. So there was some misinformation. I don't know who spoke to who, but apparently they didn't want to move forward with fundraising until they got the blessing from the Board of Commissioners if it was okay.
Got it. So, okay. I guess, Mr. Coleman, so you're saying that there isn't a problem with the advisory board or the animal shelter or whomever else or the director doing fundraisers, because you're doing fundraisers now, if I'm not mistaken, unless I'm confused. You're currently...
We are not doing fundraisers. The Humane Society is. The Humane Society is their own separate 501(c)(3), and so what they do is they fundraise from their behalf, and then they either donate the funds to the proceeds to the shelter, or they independently pay for like our veterinarian.
Got it. Okay. And so now the question is, can the advisory board do this versus not do this and not get in trouble if they so choose to do it?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. I guess you was going to add to this conversation, I guess.
I was just going to respond to your question. I don't think there's a restriction on doing it. I do think there's some real advantages to setting up a foundation, and it sounds like the Humane Society has done that. They have a 501(c)(3), and I think it's relatively easy to do, and that's I would recommend that as a way to do it as opposed to doing it directly. But certainly, I don't see a restriction on doing it. I haven't found a restriction.
And Vanessa, you're saying that in the event that you're doing any fundraising outside of the building, you could not support because you don't have the staff and the manpower to do it. Inside the building, you're okay.
Inside the building, we're okay because it would fall in. They would be in our, clients would come in. We would obviously show them animals. But outside the building, I'm very limited. Even like our last vaccine event, I'm pulling in employees that normally would work on the weekends to help because I don't have the manpower at this point.
All right. Thanks for the clarity. My apologies. It was just a little, I don't know. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I get it.
I yield. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Commissioner Carpenter, I see you there.
So what would be the ideal scenario for you? What would be the ideal, right? Because I know the Humane Humane Society has done things and continues to help, right? And I think the last one that I did with you, we had people to donate food and things of that nature. So what would be the ideal scenario? Just to make sure that you work well with the board, they have their marching orders, and all works well, so this would be seamless. What would be the ideal scenario?
The ideal scenario would be to have two separate entities. You have your Humane Society and Animal Advisory Board, and each entity has their specific fundraising, tiers. So you think of Humane Society, they fundraise for heartworm treatment, our spays and neuters, and our community cats program. So then you'd look at Animal Advisory as doing, let's say, some more community events, fundraising for getting a big play yard, other areas. That one of the biggest things would be getting an adoption event van, so we could take it mobile, and that would put their name on it. That's something that the community would circle around. But I think to avoid conflict and crossing those lines on which entity is fundraising for this entity and who's doing what, let's have one set doing one marching orders, the other set doing the other marching orders. Keep it clean and clear, both benefiting, the shelter and the community at the same time, but each also entity gets their own recognition as well.
Thank you. So Madam Chair, can we task someone to work with Director Franceschi in order to get that done so that the Animal Services Advisory Board would be able to get their mission, whatever that may be. It may be a van, it may be raising enough money to do a playground, but at least if they are clear on what they can do, in order not to cross the line with what the Humane Society is doing, I think that would be an easier ask and easier pull. And then the Community rally around the ambulance services advisory board to get that done. So if we could get staff to help with that, and that way we can clear this up moving forward. And might I add, Madam Chair, we probably need to take a look at all of our boards because if Ms. Franceschi is having this issue, it may be that others are as well. We just don't know about it. So we may need to do a comprehensive overhaul on all of our boards just to make sure that they're operating within their capacity and if there's something that we need to update or change across the board.
Okay, sounds good. We can definitely do that. Thank you so much, Commissioner Carter. All right, thank you so much, Vanessa.
You're welcome.
Francesca. All right, Board of Commissioners, we've had that conversation, and certainly we have this one item potentially remaining, and that's an executive session. And at this point, I will certainly yield to our county attorney to determine if we need to go into executive session.
I do not have anything for executive session, Madam Chair, but if any of the commissioners have anything that they would like to discuss or involving real estate or litigation of personnel, then please advise and we'll make a motion for executive session. At a future meeting, probably the next meeting, I'll probably recommend go in just to advise you on various pending litigation matters. But at this point today, I'm not going to recommend an executive session for that.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, do you have any particular items that you would like, or particular topic that you would like to discuss in executive session today? If not, we will.
We need to force them.
Okay, sounds good to me. All right, Board of Commissioners, thank you today for engaging in our work session. It is now 12:37 p.m. and so we have our legislative meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. and this meeting will be held in person. So I wanted to make that clear to our citizens. So the Board of Commissioners, we will be in person in Citizens Hall tomorrow at 10 a.m. to kick off our legislative voting meeting. Certainly, I'll just end, right? Again, we're still in pandemic status, but we're doing much better than we have in the past. So I just ask that we just continue to pace ourselves. I won't go into what we need to do. It appears that we are doing the right things at this time based on what we have on the horizon. Right now, there's nothing major to report in terms of that public health component. Just want us to just continue to do what we've done in the past, and we're making some headway. And again, as I always say, this too shall pass, and it looks like it is beginning to end. Board of Commissioners, if there's nothing else to come before this body, we will meet tomorrow. And at this time, this meeting is adjourned. And have a great day. Thank you.